let's just start with the overview of all this. It's bonkers, isn't it?
Bonkers is one word. Sad. It's sad that we have to deal with the admission from a national team manager that he committed an act of domestic violence back in 1991. It's embarrassing for all of us that cover the sport here to see the way in which this has come to light. But I think it's a perfect reflection of what American soccer is. And I know Ala's in the studio, and I'm curious to get his thoughts on this, because I know as a parent he's been a part of this. One of the things that I always talk about when we talk about the problems in American soccer is that youth soccer is not about development, it's about profit. And when you have a profit business, you need customers. And the customers in this case are the parents. And so these parents go through an entire decades-long process, and they feel entitlement. And I think that's what we see here from Gio Reyna's parents, specifically his mother, Danielle Reyna, who has come out and said that she was the one that told this very personal information, private information that she had to Ernie Stewart, which triggers events, a chain of events that eventually opens an investigation into Gregg Berhalter's past. I think this is something that you would only see in American soccer. Not that we haven't seen parents steal headlines before when the French national team goes out at the last European Championships, right? I think it was Adrien Rabiot's mom and Kylian Mbappe's parents were caught going at it. But this is behind the scenes, and this is what you get when you have a culture of rich, entitled parents who are backing the players, even the best players that we have in the American pool. And of course it happens in youth soccer, happens at the U12 level, the high school level. No surprise it's going to happen on the World Cup stage. But it is very, very embarrassing from an American soccer perspective.
To Sebi's point, we've all been there. We've been on the sideline with our children, and we know the sort of people that he's talking about. But this is the Reyna family. This is someone who knows soccer inside out.
Royalty, one would suggest, within the landscape of U.S. soccer. And so there's so many things that go into this. The way that the reports are coming out, the way that you read the articles and the information that is coming from all sorts of different sources, you would paint a picture of Gregg Berhalter and Claudio Reyna being best buddies forever. What I'm thinking is that in between the lines, while they may have been close and may still have been close even up to the World Cup, if you're best buddies forever, guess what? You reach the phone, you know, this piece of technology that has revolutionized communication, and you call this person. Or, even better, let's go old school. Hey, let's have a coffee.
Right.
Let's talk about this. Because if we're best buddies forever, we should be able to do this. This tells me that there are complexities to this relationship that we don't quite understand. And there's so much intertwined over the last 3 decades that they have known each other that goes beyond, hey, we're best buddies, and we're unable to communicate with a phone call, having a coffee, or whatever the case may be. The fact that this plays out publicly in the manner in which it has gotten out of control. There's been a breach of trust from both, from Berhalter in that he essentially put Gio Reyna out there in the manner in which he did, and then now, beyond all these complexities, beyond all these layers and intertwined relationships, I think, and I don't want to oversimplify this because we're talking about people's lives here and relationships as well, real relationships. This is a mother protecting her kid. It really is. And when it comes down to it, this is a mother that her, in this case, Gregg Berhalter, say what he was saying about Gio Reyna, and she is saying, no, you're not doing that to my baby. You're not doing that to my kid. You're not gonna do that. You wanna dance? I can dance. And I have this information because, oh, by the way, when we go to intertwined relationships, she was a teammate of Gregg Berhalter's wife back in the day in college. And so there's so many moving parts, but at the core, a breach of trust, and then a mother defending her kid. An emotional decision, of course. And I wouldn't go about it this way. I don't think it's the correct way to go about it. But this is, I think, when you really get through all the layers, you look at a mother that is not accepting the fact that Gregg Berhalter can publicly do the things that he was doing to her son, and she was just going to sit there and take it. She makes this decision. I think it's a regrettable decision. but it's one that you can see where it's coming from, and you can see what her thought process was. It doesn't make it right. It doesn't put her or the Reinas in a good light, and it doesn't represent Gio Reyna in the best manner. I think it makes this even worse than it was to begin with.
And of course, it all became public when Gregg Berhalter's initial comments were leaked. This was Gio Reyna's response to it at the time. And as Ali said, you can just see this coming from the family as well. Coach Berhalter has always said that issues that arise with the team will stay in-house so we can focus on team unity and progress. I love my team. I love representing my country, and I'm focusing now on improving and growing as a soccer player and a person. Let's talk about where this incident leaves both Berhalter and Reyna regarding their future. Starting off with Berhalter, Seb. Obviously, he's out of contract. You've just come off a call with US Soccer. Just take us through it.
Right, so on the call, Cindy Parlow-Cohn, the president, JT Batson, the CEO, and Ernie Stewart, the sporting director. Ernie Stewart, who was asked about it directly, said that Gregg Berhalter is still under consideration for the national team manager role moving forward. That is, of course, pending the results of the investigation. Now, the CEO, JT Batson, was asked directly how he felt about it, and he said he would be uncomfortable commenting on Berhalter's candidacy until this investigation is complete. So clearly this investigation will impact what comes and what happens with Gregg Berhalter. In the meantime, as you see there on the screen, Anthony Hudson will take over on an interim basis. He has, of course, been an assistant under Gregg Berhalter. He's worked with the New Zealand national team as well. He'll take over for the January camp and the 2 friendlies that the U.S. has. He'll also be joined by another member of Gregg Berhalter's staff, and Mikey Varas, who is the very successful coach of the under-20 team. That will be the trio that, at least in an interim basis, will be leading the U.S. men's national team as this investigation unfolds. Because I really think, guys, until the investigation is complete, we won't have an answer on Gregg Berhalter. It's very clear from what we heard today in this press conference, in this media call, and what we've heard in the reports over the last couple weeks. Gregg Berhalter is a candidate to maintain his job as the national team manager. And so until this investigation is cleared up, his candidacy can't really be looked at with a clean slate.
What does your gut say, Seb?
I don't think there's any way that Gregg Berhalter can continue as the U.S. men's national team manager. I think there's no way that U.S. Soccer can give him a second contract now. I understand that the headline here for a lot of people is blackmail. I want to make something very clear. Gregg Berhalter didn't use the word blackmail in his statement. U.S. Soccer didn't use the word blackmail in their statement. It's very interesting that Gregg Berhalter chose to release this information, because let's not forget, this was not leaked by Danielle Reyna. This was not leaked by U.S. Soccer. This story was told by Gregg Berhalter via a statement on an unverified, brand new Twitter account. Imagine the rush that Gregg Berhalter must have been under to get his side of the story out if that's how he chose to tell this story. I don't believe that U.S. Soccer can continue, and they might not care what I think, but I think we've seen in the past, sponsors carry a lot of weight when it comes to U.S. Soccer decisions, and I can't imagine them seeing that the national team manager, whether the act was in 1991, I think is irrelevant here, has only recently admitted to an act of domestic violence. I don't think sponsors will go for it, and I think that will mean that U.S. Soccer, whatever comes of this investigation, will not be moving on with Gregg Berhalter as the national team manager.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.